Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for coming today. My name is Nicole McWhorter, and I'm one of the nurses from Mount Carmel in the wellness program. I'm also the person who manages your wellness portal. And so when you have questions about your points or when you get something that says, you didn't go to that, you can't click that, that's me. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, it's originally advertised how to stay healthy in cold and flu season, but I sort of expanded it to respiratory virus season because we just have a lot more things that are just common players that we get exposed to on a regular basis. So we're going to do a little experiment that's sort of integrated into the talk today. So if anyone wants to volunteer, Tracy has already offered, but this is a germ bag. It's not really, right? But it simulates a germ bag. And so all that I'm going to do is just sort of handle it a little bit. You see it's a little messy. And so Tracy's going to come up. She's going to do the same thing. So if anybody else wants to volunteer, truly all that you're going to do is you're just going to just rub your hands a little bit. And what this is simulating is we're picking up germs in our everyday life. And then she's just going to sit down. She's just going to be part of this as a regular audience member. And then we're going to take a look at where do our germs go as we're just doing what we do. So would anybody else like to play? Okay, there we go. Courageous people. Just hold it for a minute. There you go. Rub your hands together and then sit down and do your normal thing. Anybody else? Chickens. Yeah. Well, I told Tracy, we used to do a pen that had it on it when people signed in, but people didn't know, and then we would shine the black lights on them. And so some people touched like their noses and things, and that got uncomfortable because we were like, ooh, okay, we've got some nose pickers here. We're not going to talk about that. So now we just take a volunteer instead because we don't want to make anybody feel bad that they came to lunch and learn. Okay? Okay, so that's our little germ bag. Okay, so why are we here today other than to get our wellness points, right? Why are we here today? Well, we're here to talk a little bit about, viruses are so normalized because we all get them, right? Whether it's cold, flu, COVID, norovirus, the list is absolutely endless, right? And because we all get them at different ways, they become so normalized that we forget that people can get very, very sick from secondary infections, right? So that's a list here. And this list of secondary infections that you can get from a respiratory virus is not specific to people who already have pre-existing conditions. We're going to look at those on the next slide. This can impact anyone who gets a virus that kind of goes bad. So a couple years ago, I was on a cruise, and I got a very blessed version of international COVID. I was sicker than, I couldn't believe how sick I was. I ended up with a double ear infection and a sinus infection and then an upper respiratory infection, all just from getting COVID. I couldn't believe it. Like, I'm pretty healthy. And it was a good reminder to me, like, that took me down a few pegs and helped me remember, like, wow, like, even healthy people can get very, very sick from these different viruses. We all, and like my husband who was with me, had a totally different experience with how he got sick. We both got sick. And it's a good reminder also that, we're all individuals and we spend our lives getting exposed to virus. Our body builds up antibodies so that when we get exposed again, it says, no, I've kind of seen you before. That's our immune response. We often feel bad when we're developing an immune response. But each person is going to have a very different way that they handle a virus. And many of you have probably seen this, right? A bug is in your house, and everybody in the house has something different, right, each time that happens. And so it's just a good reminder to us that we want to protect ourselves because it feels bad when we get sick, but we also want to protect the people around us, which is why we care about trying to avoid getting and spreading the viruses, different viruses, okay? And so we've talked about pre-existing conditions a lot for the last 5 years. COVID brought to light a lot of things that we just didn't talk about in our normal everyday before. And so I'm not going to read these to you. I'm not a big read the slides to you kind of girl. They're here, right? They're on your papers. But it's just, each of these different categories, and these are just some of the pre-existing conditions that can really worsen if you get exposed to a virus, okay? Especially like our respiratory stuff, because our lungs can actually get really irritable and then prone to have really significant worsening of any respiratory condition when we get exposed to a virus. Same thing with our heart. The American Heart Association did a big study, and for people with pre-existing heart conditions, they're 6 times more likely to have some sort of cardiovascular event, like a heart attack, after you have the flu. Isn't that nuts? Like, that's crazy. It's just when you're in the flu, right? Diabetes, obesity, immunocompromised people, you can sort of put them all into one group that says these folks are just really high risk, that they are going to have a severe response when they get a respiratory virus that goes wrong, okay? So, and I'm sure when you guys look at this list, I would bet that everybody here can think of somebody they know that has at least one of these, right? And so those are the people, the young people, the old people, and then these folks we really want to protect to make sure that we are not sharing the virus with them. Okay, any questions about these? This is a very busy slide. So really what I just wanted you to kind of get from this is just a reminder of the infinite ways that we can share respiratory virus. So we got pink person and gray person on the bottom, and you can decide who went first. Maybe they both had germs first. But this thing here is called a fomite. So that's the term that we use for any inanimate object that a virus can live on. Table, desk, phone, chair, car, you name it, right? Railing, all the places, right? Clothes. And so pink person here touches it and doesn't realize there's germ on it, so they get infected, right? Well, gray person here either had it before or gets it from them, but what they're showing there is direct contact, hands touch, probably had some germs, like the 3 of us, right, on our hands, and then they inadvertently share it with someone else when they touch their eyes, their nose, their mouth. But then it also shows, which is the gross part, right? Pink person and gray person, they're just breathing, and they're sharing their germs. They could also be coughing, they could be talking, they could be sneezing, but anything that comes out. One of them has a big-sized virus, and one has a small. Not important. All that's important is those mixed together, and, this is one of the things we learned during COVID. Those germs can actually, the little ones can hang in the air, and you can kind of be walking through and just breathing, and then they go in, right, for the small ones. The big ones, they don't go as far, they don't hang in the air as long. But what they can do is land on other surfaces, and you just come along. How many of you use the 2 pens that are out to sign in today? I didn't put anything on there, right? But whoever touched it first, if they wiped their nose or they touched something inadvertently or had, they just shared that with everyone, right? So now you all want to wash your hands, don't you? Right? Right? So, and then a little simpler version, which I kind of like, this is from imperfectparenting.com, and it just shows how this family spread that, right? Someone who doesn't cover very well, coughs, but doesn't really cover, doesn't use their elbow, and then shares it with someone who then sneezes, touches their hands, touches the door. Little Johnny comes along, he touches it, and of course, what do kids do? God bless you. Touch their eyes, nose, mouth. Perfect timing, thank you. And then he ends up getting sick, okay? So any question about respiratory virus spread? So who's at risk? So I love this picture because it shows who's at risk, absolutely everybody. But then it just makes me giggle a little bit because I was like, if somebody in that picture was sick, guess what? Now they're all sick, right? So that's probably not nice nurse humor, right? We think things are funny that other people don't think are funny. Okay. So as I mentioned, I don't want you to study this, right? This was just a good example of 4 viruses that are very prevalent all during this respiratory virus season, right? We've got the cold, our common cold, then the flu, COVID, and then RSV. Do you know RSV, respiratory syncytial virus? So we used to only hear about it in littles, like babies, NICU babies, and now we know little kids and old people get RSV, and they all get really sick when they get it, okay? But what I wanted you to see is the common symptoms, because when we start to feel bad, how do you know what you got, right? Because they all can start off with cough, headache, sneezing, runny nose, congestion, and then they have some things that are sort of the hallmarks, right? So like a cold, you know, the 3 red X's, that's the often, right? And sort of, and this is not to say if you have one of the others that you can't get that. They're just kind of the hallmarks that are more often that you see. So if you have some respiratory gunk and then you also get a little bit of sore throat, it might be, could be strep, but that's a whole different talk, right? But it could be more that it's going to be a cold from all the drainage, okay? The flu, body aches, and the big thing with the flu is, has anybody here had the flu? Yeah, right? You're just going along your day, you're fine, you're minding your own business, and then you feel like you got hit by a truck, right? You're like, what just happened? Like, I feel awful, right? That is a little more typical presentation of the flu, right? COVID, of course, the loss of smell, loss of taste is most common with, that only seems to happen with COVID. And then RSV. RSV is a much more specific respiratory virus. And so the reason that they delineate the wheezing, you know, is because with the other 3, if you get wheezing, it's usually because you're developing a secondary infection. With RSV, that can just be from having RSV. Okay? And you don't need to memorize any of this. And if you pull up 10 charts from 10 public health departments, there's going to be little nuances. They're going to do. So what I just wanted you to really see is it's hard to tell what you got when you first get sick. Okay? There are some hallmarks, just the top line on this one, of when they start, right? And a cold, it just sort of seems to come on you during the day, maybe over a day or 2. As I mentioned, flu, and it's not every time, but most people, they're fine, they're not fine. And then RSV and COVID, it's really, really varies because from the time of exposure till the time of when you have symptoms is really, it's different for every single person. And it goes back to, you know, all of our exposures and the way we've developed our antibodies. So don't want you to worry about all, just really wanted to impress upon you that they can all kind of look, smell, feel the same when they first start, okay? So this says things to do to help prevent respiratory virus, RSV, but it's really, it should be things you can do to help prevent any respiratory virus from getting it and from spreading it, okay? And these are things that we do everything. Washing our hands, we're going to talk about ad nauseum a bit, okay? Don't touch your eyes, your nose, your mouth in public. This is something I say to people after I give them a flu shot. I'm like, it takes 2 weeks. Don't touch your eyes, your nose, your mouth in public. And it's funny to me because people will be like, why? I'm like, well, that's how you introduce virus. And then you start thinking about how often you touch your face, right? And you're just constantly, and I'm trying to not do it today, but I bet at some point I'm going to, and we're going to shine that black light, and I'm going to have some germs on my face today, okay? Avoiding close contact with people who are sick. So, you know, in real life, when someone else is sick and we're taking care of them, or when we have children, or sometimes a spouse, right? We can't truly avoid them. But if you're sick, trying to keep a little bit of space between you and the people who you want to protect is really, really important. Okay? It can also be kind of lonely, but it's really, really important. Or if you're a mom, it can be kind of nice, let's be honest. Okay? All right. Covering our coughs and our sneezes, like this is all COVID. We went through this during COVID, I know that, but just a reminder, using your elbow instead of your hands. And if you do use your hands, go wash your hands right away and wash them really good. Tissues, I see people do this all the time. They're like, achoo! And then all this, and I'm like, you just spewed all over, but you covered your nose. I don't understand what just happened. Okay? And then, yeah, I think we've covered, cleaning and disinfecting surfaces. So this is a good reminder. I am pretty tidy, and I realized I'm actually a very dirty person when COVID happened because I never read a single thing, like any of the cleaning products, of how long they were supposed to be on a surface to help me actually clean things. I just wipe everything down, feel better about it. So just make sure you're cleaning surfaces well, especially when you don't feel well. So hand washing. This is where my volunteers are going to come up. So hand sanitizing. How many times do you see people do, like they grab a little bit and then they're like, and then they do this. They wipe it off on their clothes, right? So these ladies are going to each do this the right way, okay? So a full pump, a full pump. So wherever your hand sanitizers are, the pump is designed to give you the dose that's appropriate, okay? So then the next thing that they are going to do is they're going to follow this slide. They are going to rub their hands with a lot of pressure. They are going to rub their fingertips, each fingertip, their wrist, their thumbs. Who does this when they wash their thumb? No one. Be honest, right? I don't, except if someone's watching, right? And you're going to rub until dry. And I cannot say that enough. Rub until dry. If you don't rub until dry, the hand sanitizer, the alcohol in there, the way it works is as it's evaporating is where you start to get the true cleaning propers. Okay? So, my hands, I'm just going to walk over here for a sec. You saw the bad job, right? The way most people use hand sanitizer. Do you see the white dots?
Yeah.
They're everywhere, right? Inside my ring, right? You guys see that? Can you see? This is bad hand sanitizing. All the white that you see? Yeah. I think I did pretty good here. You see? All the white. Can everybody see that okay? You see it okay back there? You see how bad?
Yeah.
See? Were you guys able to see back there?
Can I ask for the hand sanitizer?
Nope. You gotta rub. You should be rubbing. No flapping. Yes, no flapping. No, you want to be rubbing that whole time. Okay? So let's see. So Tracy did pretty good. Here, come over here. Both of you come over here. We've got some hand sanitizer on her shirt. That's not helpful, right? But you can also see on her clothes. Do you see all the places that her germs went? So Tracy needed a lot more pressure when she was washing. So let's see. Do you guys see this? Let me get out of the way. Do you see in the crevices of her hands? So it takes an incredible amount of pressure. Any stuff on you? Yeah, you got some on your pants. Got anything anywhere else? Oh, you're sparkling everywhere. Can you guys see all the germs all over her clothes? You just, if you use hand sanitizer, you got to be vigorous, right? But it's true with hand washing too, right? Thank you. Thank you both. Good job, ladies. Good job. So with respect to that, who can start me a counter for 20 seconds? You can either count out loud or put it on your phone. Okay, somebody do it. So when we wash our hands, this sounds crazy, but this is from St. Jude's, right? They take care of a lot of sick kids, really, really, really sick. And so they have very stringent rules and policies for the way you're supposed to wash your hands for good reason, because you just saw, right? So whoever's got my 20 seconds. Okay, so start over for me. 20 seconds. This is what you should be doing. You get your hands wet, right, and you just follow along. And it sounds ridiculous, right, because we know how to wash our hands, but we don't really. We don't do it right. And this is the number one thing that we can do to prevent spreading viruses. The number one, hands down, okay? So washing, right, palm to palm, back of your hands. And then you got to keep going 20 seconds, fingertips, right? Wrists, and then you got to do your thumbs, which looks weird, and you just keep on going. And if I did a better job setting up my time, you'd be like, well, I'm done, right? And you're like, you're at like 10 seconds, right? And then you got to rinse with your hands down, dry with a clean towel, either a paper towel if you're in public, if you have clean towels at home. And then, very, very importantly, turn off the water with a clean paper towel. Use that clean paper towel to open the door. Okay? Who really does that? Yeah, get the air dryer. You can use toilet paper. So you're a good hand washer. Yes, that's wonderful, right? That will help you stay well, okay? Yeah. 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 You have it's like kids who are like methodical, like having them count while they're doing it, or saying like thumbs, fingers, fingertips, wrists, and like pressure. I don't know, whatever makes her, incentivizes her. All right. So hand sanitizing for your health, it's not just for healthcare, right? So this one's an obvious one, right? Anytime you touch your eyes, your nose, your mouth, anytime you wipe any orifice on your body, you got to wash your hands, right? How about, does anybody take their shoes off when they go in the house? Upstairs. I take our shoes. My people in my house are fantastic about taking their shoes off. They are horrible about washing their hands when they come in the house. We all did it for a long time, and now I'm like, I have two 22-year-olds who think they are very smart, and like it's a big, like they don't want to wash their hands when they come in the house. It's so weird. They would love, I'm telling you all of this. How about when you get in your car? Anybody else drink, snack, eat in the car, right? Do you wash your hands or hand sanitize before you get in the car? No, so what if we put a little hand sanitizer so that as soon as you get in the car, you clean your hands first and then snack at will, right? It's just one more space that you're trying to keep a little cleaner. Because if you're touching your steering wheel and it's covered with germs and then you grab your french fries, right, you're just sticking to whatever it is you touched or whoever drove your car, right? Again, two 22-year-olds. Mm-hmm. Okay. I love little kids. It's just a reminder, anytime you eat, anytime you snack, anytime you drink, you got to wash your hands before you do it and then wash your hands after. Okay? Because again, everything that you touch that day, you're just putting directly into your body. And then these little cuties, right? When we touch someone else's hands, even when they're adorable, and actually especially if they're adorable, because they're just giant little germ balls, right? They are, right? As adorable, but anyone's hands that we're touching, right? We gotta wash our hands after, or else everything that they've touched, you're just putting in your mouth, okay? Okay, so what do you see? What are things you can do to stay healthy? And I'm gonna stand here till you guys say some stuff, so. There we go, hydrate, what else? Stay active. Have good nutrition, yes. Say it again. Get good sleep. Fresh air, nature, yes. Don't worry, you don't have to say it. I'll take care of that one. I know. How about like periods where you're sort of reset? Like you can use the word mindfulness, but whatever it is that you do, like exhale, right? Where through your day, when your days are real busy or when you get home, the moment to exhale, to reset, because we actually bring our blood pressure down. We bring down our cortisol levels, right? That's our fight or flight, and most of us run through our day with our fight or flight on fire, right? When we bring those down, it actually allows our immune system to actually exhale too, right? Sounds like just a silly thing, but just sitting for a minute and just like, right, to give your body a little chance. Okay, the one that we didn't say was vaccinate. And as the nurse, I'm going to cover those. I'm not here to tell you what to do. All that I am here to do is tell you what's available. Okay? So for colds, there's no vaccines available. Someday if colds get big and bad enough where they're actually making us like crazy sick, somebody's going to come up with a vaccine. But it's too fast, it's too changing, it's too smart, and it doesn't make us so sick that we need a vaccine against it yet. Yeah. Okay? Flu, everybody 6 months and over should get a flu shot. Okay? RSV that we talked about. So for infants, you can see what it says here, but you know the babies, when they're certain underlying conditions, need to get them sooner. When they're healthy babies, a little bit older, 8 to 19 months. Pregnant women and then adults. This one's changed. Last year was the first year they made a recommendation about older adults. They've revised it now, so 60 and over in general, and then it lowers a little bit to 50 if you have some of those pre-existing conditions that we talked about. I don't know what they do at 74. It's like they cut you off. Like, sorry, you're 74 now. No. Yeah. And then, so COVID-19 is kind of a hot button issue right now. There's a lot of things changing. And so what I will just say to you is, if you make the decision, for people 65 and over, you should get a COVID vaccine, and it is very easy for you to do. For anyone else that chooses to get a vaccine, the rules and what's going to be covered in Ohio right now is very up in the air. So, you know, I like to be able to give you a solid answer, but I don't have one except to say, if you choose to get vaccinated, talk to your primary, and they will write a prescription, and then talk to your insurance company and make sure it's covered, right? Because you will be very disappointed to see how much an uncovered vaccine costs, okay? And this is all changing, and the insurance companies are all trying to figure it out, and the state of Ohio is trying to figure it out. And again, this is not a political conversation. It's just to say they're figuring it out right now. So if you choose to get vaccinated, make sure you cover yourself so that you're going to get it covered, okay? Questions about clear as mud? No. Questions about the vaccine? Okay. Questions about anything?
I'm not RSV vaccine. I thought it was for like small children.
Uh-huh.
Is it for like older children? And I asked, okay, my daughter had it years ago.
Uh-huh.
And like our pediatrician was like, keep a bubble over her because like, her lungs are going to be like,
Okay. Was she preemie?
no.
No. Did she have respiratory stuff?
She had like eczema and allergies.
Oh, okay. So she's an immune kiddo. Okay. Yeah, and so she's someone. So these are just the initial recommendations, but you see that they say that certain underlying medical conditions is where they start it, and then it's on an ongoing basis.
And do you think that's like any other, like viral infection, like you said, like your body sees it the next time it comes to
Well, but again, this is like, so with the flu, right?
Yeah.
That's this year's version, right? There's some like pneumonia. Pneumonia seems to, there's like 6 different pneumonia vaccines, but I think that they've now figured out which one is a good one for most people, not littles, but most people. And so that one, they're now recommending for people like 50 and over. And so they feel like that one's going to cover you for a long time, for a lot of years. Same thing with like shingles, oh, that's different, that's, you know, in your immune system. But like flu is changing every year, you know, every year. So, yeah, it's really hard to know. RSV has been very well studied in littles, and now it's getting more, and they're starting to go, oh, more people are getting sick from this. We've got to figure this out. Right? So, not a great answer. Any other questions about anything?